Mortal Kombat 11 just had an update. That's right, the game that hasn't had any new content for over a year now still had an update. And this had tons of gamers confused, especially on social media. Nobody could figure out what the change was about. NetherRealm already confirmed they're done with Mortal Kombat 11 and are working on the next game, and yet even so, it just had an update. And there's actually quite a few things that did change. There weren't any new characters added and no balance adjustments for any of the fighters. But even so, there were some changes, and one of the biggest changes that NetherRealm made was a shock to many and had a lot of gamers upset. And when I explain it to you, you're not gonna believe it. But first, here's a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by DashFight, your one-stop channel for everything fighting games. For example, they have character guides from pro players. Take for example this video, Kano Advanced Guide by Biohazard, one of my favorite players in the FGC. Biohazard teaching me how to play Kano, that is sick. But DashFight has more than just character guides and combo guides. They also have new playlists like the DashFight Topics. Check out this first one, the obscure spin-offs and controversies of Tekken. Now that sounds interesting. And then if we go to their videos tab, there's cool stuff there too, like the guest characters for Mortal Kombat 12, a prediction video, cool stuff. Once again, DashFight is a great channel for every fighting game. It's got something for everybody. Whether you're a fighting game veteran or brand new to the genre, I highly recommend checking out DashFight today. They're great for the fighting game community. So without any further ado, let's hop right into it. Because the main change that everybody is talking about is Scarlet's Cold War skin. That's right, the recent update actually made some changes to her skin. Now thankfully these changes were very minor, but even so it kind of begs the question, why did NetherRealm change anything at all? Well, I will tell you. Now unless you live under a rock, I'm pretty sure you know what Russia's been up to as of late. And it seems very clear that NetherRealm wants to distance themselves as far away from Russia as physically possible, and that includes anything resembling the Soviet Union. And seeing as how Scarlet's Cold War skin is a direct reference to Russia and the Soviet Union, some changes had to be made. And the most obvious of which was the colors. Before she was wearing red and gold as the primary scheme, but that looks too much like the hammer and sickle, so that had to go. If you look at the costume now, here is the default color for her skin. It no longer has the iconic yellow and red. And then on top of that, the update made several more minor changes to her costume. Beforehand, she had some tiny little trinkets here and there that referenced the Soviet Union. For example, Scarlet's belt had the hammer and sickle. Nope, no more, now it is the Mortal Kombat logo. And then her hat also had an emblem that referenced Russia and the Soviet Union, and that's gone now too. These two tiny itty bitty pieces of Scarlet's attire have been changed to make sure they no longer reflect Russia in any way. And there may have been more changes than that, but those are the big three that I noticed right away. But then finally we have what I consider to be the funniest change, which is the actual name itself. Yeah, they changed the name of the skin on the PlayStation Store. If you try and buy this skin now, it's no longer called the Cold War skin, it's just called the Cold skin. Like Cold Scarlet, as in she's cold, which I guess makes sense because she's wearing a big thick jacket, but those legs are completely exposed, which low-key that is one of my favorite things about this costume. It's very fashionable and a bit sexy. Part of me likes to pretend that Scarlet isn't wearing anything under that jacket, and at any moment she goes BAM and just flashes you. But I digress. The point is, this skin is one of my favorites in the game, and it still is, and I don't think I'm alone in that regard. I'm pretty sure for a lot of players this was their favorite skin. And on a minor side note, this change may have had some unintended consequences for other skins in the game, because I think to change her skin, they didn't just change the color, they actually altered the shaders, and as a result there's other skins in the game that are changed now too, like the colors are just different than before. It actually reminds me a lot of back when Jade's witch costume got changed. One of the colors was changed completely. I think it was her staff. It used to be pink and now it's just back to being green like every other staff. It got so many people upset that one of the NetherRealm studio execs actually did respond, and I'm paraphrasing here, but they basically said, well, this is more in line with what the designers wanted and it's more consistent with the look of the game. Now, needless to say that gamers weren't having it and they were not satisfied with this answer, and they still want the original color scheme back, but it is what it is. My main point is this color fiasco has happened before. NetherRealm has made changes to existing skins and shaders and it's upset the community, and it's happened again. But that's it for that minor tangent. To go back to the Cold War Scarlet skin, I've also heard that the Mortal Kombat 11 game isn't even available for purchase in Russia. But if I'm wrong about that, make sure to let me know in the comments, because I got this info from social media and I have no way of actually knowing really what's available in Russia because I don't live there. Now, if it is in fact true that Mortal Kombat 11 is no longer available in Russia, then I have to assume it's for the same reason that the Cold War Scarlet skin was changed. Once again, Russia's been up to some business that NetherRealm does not want anything to do with. They don't want to be at all associated with Russia's recent doings. You may notice I'm beating around the bush a lot. That's because I don't want to get demonetized on YouTube or blocked or censored, any of that stuff, so I'm doing what I can. I apologize. I have to be very unspecific. Believe it or not, I've heard around 20% or so of the Russia population actually does not support the war, so so it seems a bit unfair that they can't play Mortal Kombat 11, but I guess I'm getting off topic. But now it's time for my favorite part of the video, because it's when I ask you, the viewers, to comment on this whole situation. How do you feel about the changes to Scarlet's Cold War skin? Do you like the new look, or do you prefer the original, and do you think it was necessary for NetherRealm to make this change? Was it a good decision? For me personally, I'm wondering if this trend is going to continue for every Cold War skin that NetherRealm's ever made, because believe it or not, they've done several. It actually began in Mortal Kombat X with Scorpion. He had the very first Cold War skin, and then soon after, Sub-Zero got his own version too, and I'm wondering if these skins are also going to be altered, or if they have already. Let me know in the comments. And then if we go back even further, the Injustice series actually had the Red Sun costumes, and these skins were inspired by the Red Sun Superman graphic novel, which is an amazing read and a decent movie. The film's okay, but the graphic novel is just 10 times better. Anyway, the main idea of this story is, what if Superman had crashed in Russia instead of America? What kind of man would he turn into? That's how you get the Red Sun Superman, and his costume is pretty unique and interesting, so NetherRealm said, hey, let's make more of those for different characters. And as a result, you have several characters that don the hammer and sickle: Solomon Grundy, Green Lantern, and Deathstroke, to name a few. So once again, I'm curious if NetherRealm is going to go all the way back to those games and change the costumes, or if it only matters for the most recent game. And then on top of that, I have to be honest with myself and ask, was any of this actually necessary? Because even though I don't support what Russia is doing right now in any way, shape, or form, I can also separate the art from the real world. The idea behind the Cold War skin is not to support Russia, it's simply a concept of what if Scarlet was born in the Soviet Union. I don't think anybody saw that skin for 1 second and actually believed that NetherRealm was in support of Russia and their invasion. In the same way that I don't believe anyone who sees Red Sun Superman believes that the DC Comics supports the Soviet Union either. It's just a crazy what-if story. What if Superman was born in the Soviet Union? I seriously doubt that anybody watching this video right now thinks that Superman is evil and supports communism or the Soviet Union. None of that stuff. However, for Scarlet, things get even simpler, because I don't know if you noticed, Scarlet's a villain. Like, she's downright evil. In fact, depending on which game we're going with, she's even more evil. In Mortal Kombat 11, she's just kind of evil, but she could have been, like, you know, tricked and manipulated. She was adopted by Shao Kahn at a very young age, and obviously she imprinted on him and his ideals, so she's evil just like him. And then on top of that, you have the whole incest thing, and we're not gonna go too deep into that, but just know that yes, Scarlet wants to marry her own dad. She has the hots for her adopted father. Anyway, now it's time to talk about Mortal Kombat 9, where Scarlet is just evil by default, because she was designed to be evil. She's made from the corpses of 1,000 dead soldiers and their blood. Mortal Kombat 9 Scarlet has almost no personality whatsoever, unless you count the MKX comics, but I've been told those aren't canon unless the writer says so I don't know what to think. Anyway, you get the point. Scarlet is a villain. She is an evil character, so when she associates with bad people or bad ideals, I think it makes perfect sense and does not endorse those bad ideas. So if you want my honest opinion on things, that's how I feel personally. I don't think these changes were necessary, but at the end of the day, the skin still looks mostly the same, so I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it. I do kind of miss the gold, but just because I love the color scheme of red and yellow. I think it looks really cool. The Flash has that color scheme behind me. You can't quite tell because of the blue lighting, but he wears red and yellow. Once again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you think NetherRealm made the right call by changing the Cold War skin? Do you think it was necessary? Maybe this decision just reflects the time period we live in. Companies have to be as careful as possible and make sure they are in no way associated with any wrongdoings in the world. Otherwise, the media might jump on them. Maybe somebody at Warner Brothers or NetherRealm got paranoid and could hear the typing away of some evil game journalist waiting to defame WB and NetherRealm Studios, or at least the Mortal Kombat brand, and they couldn't have that. If that's the case, then I more or less understand the decision, but I still don't think it was necessary because Scarlet is bad, so it makes sense for her to represent bad ideals. And in fact, if anything, putting these Soviet Union symbols on a character that is known to be a villain and evil just reinforces the idea that those ideals are themselves evil. Or to put it more simply, Soviet Union bad. Have the bad character wear the Soviet symbols. Bing bang boom, 2 + 2 = 4. Makes perfect sense to me, but hey, that's my opinion. Maybe this video came off as a bit random, but I thought it made for an interesting video topic. Although in a way, it makes me a bit nervous of what could happen in the future, because is NetherRealm just gonna go back 10 years from now and change more beloved skins that I like for no real reason whatsoever? Are major companies always going to be terrified of how they're viewed by even just one bad actor who's gonna write a mean article about them? Or am I just overreacting? It's completely possible. Once again, I'm still gonna play the skin, I still love the skin, and I do understand why NetherRealm or WB made this decision. I don't know if it was needed, but I understand why they did it. Once again, for one final time, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, smash that like button if you enjoyed. It does help my channel out a ton. Then keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell, that way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.